So, I'm here working on my 1977 Chevrolet Corvette. It's an automatic TH350, still has a 350 5.7 liter small block. And I wanted to make a video on the issue that I'm having because I couldn't find a lot of info in terms of video wise out there on this particular problem, but yet when I Googled it, it was a common issue. So surprisingly, there was not much for video out there, and I decided to put this together based on the help that I was able to receive in the forums and online. Without further ado, I'm going to explain the symptom. When I go from park to drive or reverse, what I get is the car squats down and I hear a light clunk or a little bit of a thump. Now, the most likely cause of this is the differential front mount bushing is worn. This is a rubber piece, and here it is brand new. And some of you might be thinking, well, why don't I just go to poly? That seems to be the better option nowadays. But what I'm going to tell you is for this particular part, you do not want to go poly. Poly is great for transmission and motor mounts, but for this area on the C3 Corvettes, it could be subject to oil or leaking on it or something, from the differential, or just poly. It's pretty tough, and when you install a poly mount in place, they sell them. Sometimes you might not get exact fit, sometimes you do, but when you put it in, now there's very harsh vibrations in that area, and it actually ends up tearing the delicate metal tongue that sits between that the cushion sits on top of. There's a lower and an upper, and I'm going to show you that here. Anyway, so I got this part at it was one of the Corvette websites, not Eckler's, but anyway, I'll end up posting a link in the description so you guys have the exact. I don't want to leave you hanging, but go rubber here. You'll find that is the recommendation across the board. Don't do this job and put a poly mount in there. All right, so okay, so you got to have the car jacked up. You want to make sure it's nice and secure. Give the car a little bit of a rock, but not too much, just to double check that when you bump it or torque on the wrench, that's not going to fall on you. And ideally, you want to have the front lifted as well, because sometimes you need to put the car in neutral to be able to realign the drive shaft, to be able to get the bolt out. So the area that I'm talking about, as you can see the reference here, you got the engine up there, transmission, drive shaft comes back here, and then right alongside you have the tongue that I was talking about. And here is the bushing. See how that's kind of balloon or bulging, cracks? Well, on top of that, actually there is a bushing as well, and that's the challenge right there. You have the drive shaft, and the reason I mentioned neutral earlier is sometimes you have to grab that, and with two hands you can grab it from there. That's probably pretty easy to grab, but you need to rotate it so that you can get a nice area to slip the bolt out. The bolt drops in from the top up here. It's, it looks pretty simple. A lot of people say it's simple to do, but the bolt drops in. So you got to get this bolt off, you have to put an 18 millimeter or a equivalent which is 11/16, seems to fit nice on that particular nut. And then put a wrench up here, take that off, and then now you got to get that bolt out through the top. And if the drive shaft is not in a position where you can angle it and probably sneak it up, like I got lucky here, I didn't have to do much finagling, but sneak it up into this this area where the joint is, then you've lucked out. Okay, so I also want to mention that sometimes you need to do a little pry bar action. Look at this. Okay, guys, this is important to note. You have this brake line running right here. If you put a pry bar and start prying at this to get this particular bushing out of there, you may flatten or crunch this line. You need to be extremely careful of that. Some options that people have talked about is taking support off the differential by putting a jack up under here, or excuse me, a hydraulic jack up underneath the differential and taking away some of that pressure on that bushing, and it should pop right out. So guys, what I found that helped, this wasn't too bad actually. It's already free spinning and I'm not even really putting any pressure on it. I sprayed a little bit of penetrating oil on it, and I have this long extension, and bam, without further ado, it came, it came loose pretty easy. So let me know your thoughts. Pretty straightforward job, but almost every C3 is going to need a new differential front mount bushing, and this I thought I would put together to help you out because others helped me, and I just thought the video would help. Cool. Yeah, all right. Just put in the comments if you need any help or you have questions. I'll be happy to give you some help. A little bit of feedback works too. Now, I'll be honest, I did not look to see if this was standard or metric, this particular bolt on this car. It seems that you're going to find both. So I just kind of tried what fits, and if it's a little bit too loose, don't attempt it because you'll strip that nut. All right, guys, I'm back, and as you can see, the new bushing is in. And this angle for the drive shaft ended up working. The top bushing was able to finagle out of there, and the old bolt wiggled right out. What I did end up having to do to preserve crushing, or to save from crushing this brake line, is I loosened and removed both of these bracket bolts. Now mind you, I've already unbolted the old one at this point, so old bolt completely out. You're wondering how to get the old lower cushion out because it seems to be kind of stuck in there. No problem. Just put some penetrating oil on these castle nuts here, squish the cotter key down, pull the cotter keys out, and then loosen and remove both castle nuts, and you can use a light maybe push rod to hammer out the bolts. Just be careful. They should come out pretty easy. There is no weight on that bracket. So it is safe to remove. And what I had to do, I only removed this one completely. This one was almost all the way out, and then I noticed, oh wow, this bracket was kind of loose. All of a sudden, the old one came right out. And guys, I want to show you why you replace this. Let me get into the sun here. Look at this. So I don't know if you can see that. The top, this is put together as it would on the car, but look at that top. Isn't that crazy? Big gash right there. Bottom one looks okay, but the top one really felt the pain, and this is why the car was clunking. Anyway, hopefully this video helped you. Again, thanks for watching.